Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we have an extremely special video for you. Every video is special, but this one is a little bit more special. This is a very much requested video, and we're going to be revisiting our how far will a 22 kill concept. If you're familiar with those videos, they're quite popular. It's been quite a while since we've done a few of these videos. We are going to try to get back into doing a few of these, and we ran into some pretty unique challenges trying to get a 22 out to longer distances. We were able to get 400, and I believe once we were trying to shoot out to longer range, we ended up getting the rounds bounce off the ground and actually kind of bounce into the target. We thought we had a good strike, and then when we looked at the footage later, we realized that the round bounced into the target, giving us an inconclusive result.
Very inconclusive. So that video would have gone up on the channel, but as I was editing, I saw that round bounce right into the wood, and it just barely dented it. And we didn't see that until I was in post and actually checking out the footage in detail. So we were going to hold off for a while until we could get a rig together to be able to shoot accurately and properly out to range. And
what a rig.
If you guys haven't seen the video that we did on the Vudoo 360 here, you need to go check it out because we go into a lot of detail of this rig. It is an amazing rifle. It is the most accurate repeating 22 in the world. I mean, bottom line. But we've got some specialized equipment today to help us get out to 677 yards. We can't quite push to 7, but we're going to shoot 5, 6, and 677 yards today. We're going to be using a TacomHQ Charlie. Okay, so this is the macro version. This is a very large periscope device. It has a couple of mirrors inside, and it basically raises the image up to 250 mils. This is what guys use to shoot out to like 2-3 miles in these really extreme long range competitions. And also, I've heard of guys shooting past 1,000 yards with this exact type of rig, or the V22 with the Charlie. But we've got some other equipment. We've got our Leupold spotter right here, the Mark IV spotter, and we're going to be using a Kestrel 5700 Elite to collect our weather data and wind and get our elevation proper. So just for reference here, okay, we're talking like 28 mils to get to 500 yards with the 22. We're shooting some 10X today. And when we get out to 6 and 7, we're going to be pushing it past 40 mils and up to about 50 mils. This rig, just to give you a quick rundown, we've got the Vudoo 360, as I mentioned. It's in the KRG Whiskey 3 chassis. We've got a spur mount with our Element Nexus 5-20 by 50 first focal plane. This is an amazing optic, and it comes in at a great price point, Japanese made, very, very high quality. We've got a dead air mask on the end here, Atlas bipod, and we're gonna shoot some 10X, and we're gonna see what happens.
You know, one of the cool things about this Nexus as well is that these optics were, developed in part by a lot of the not only the rimfire shooters, but especially the air gun shooters. And those guys are super, super, super anal about every tiny little itty bitty detail. So these guys come from the air gun background. So this translates perfectly to the rimfire background because a lot of the rimfire guys, especially ones that get into rigs like this, and that's when you get into weight sorting your ammo and checking for rim thickness and consistency and all of those, nerdy little things that help you squeeze that bit of extra accuracy out of your gun. So a few housekeeping things in terms of data. I just wanted to kind of mention a few things before we get started today. One is that we are shooting a relatively standard velocity ammunition, lead nose ammunition. There's a lot of different ways that we can see and we can gauge what is going on downrange in terms of ballistics, right? I mean, we've done videos where we've shot ballistic shell at longer range. We've actually done that. We may show a little bit of that footage. So we've done that before. You can use wet foam books, you can use clay mediums. There's lots of different things you can shoot into to get an idea of not only penetrating capabilities, expansion, we can look at wound channels. So ballistic shell gives us the ability to do that. We're using sort of an older and rudimentary standard, which is sort of an old Army standard that involves a half-inch sheet of plywood. And what the Army ended up determining is that, especially at longer ranges, if a projectile could pierce a half-inch pine board, that it could cause a potentially lethal wound. So that is the very rudimentary standard that we're using for today's video. And the reason that we're picking up where we left off, we don't want to just go the full gusto and start at long range, because the cartridge might pierce the board. If it doesn't pierce the board at 8, close to 700 yards, then we wouldn't know if it pierced it at 6 and 5. So we're going to start where we left off, work our way up, and we'll see where either one, the round fails to penetrate the board and at which distance. to, you know, if we penetrate at all the distances and know that we could potentially revisit this video at longer ranges. And it's also worth noting that this is lower velocity ammunition, so it is going to have a little bit less power. So one other slight variable that we have to factor in is that we are not using the highest power 22 ammunition that is available. You start getting into some of the like CCI mini mags or some of the Stingers and stuff. That's great ammunition. Probably not the food that we want to shoot through this really good quality barrel. You know, that fast, hot, jacketed ammo is not good for a rig like this. So, you know, a continuous diet of it, it doesn't really help the accuracy of and the barrel life. So we are going to opt to shoot the ammunition that we feel is going to give us the best accuracy potential. And I think earlier I witnessed Chad when we were getting this round on the target here. At 600 yards, I'm just giving you a little bit of a little glimpse into the future here. He was able to put 3 shots into just slightly larger than about a cantaloupe.
Look, don't set the bar too high now.
Right, I mean, but he put 3 shots into about a size, about this big of an area at 600 yards with this rifle. Now, would this rifle be able to deliver the same accuracy with the real hot ammo that's jacketed? Probably not. Yep. Would the round have a little more heat at that range? Absolutely. So bear in mind, this is with standard velocity ammunition. So whatever result we get, the jacketed, hotter varieties of 22 ammunition are going to definitely exceed what we find here in terms of the potential damage to the boards. Now, what the Army would do is they would take multiple boards and then pierce multiple boards and go out to range. We're going to be lucky to get through one board.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with the more accurate ammunition is that the extreme spread in the velocities is a lot smaller, okay? When you get into the hotter ammunition like the Stingers and stuff, that extreme spread from one velocity to the other in like say a 20-shot string is going to be maybe 60 or 70 feet per second. So at these ranges, that amount could cause me to miss the target high or low. That is why we're using the 10X. Now this ammunition runs about 1,120 feet per second out of this 20-inch barrel. It's close to that 1,200 feet per second, kind of like high velocity figure that you see with like the auto match, like what we were shooting last time, but we were using my match grade 1022 and we did not have an optic set up to be able to get the elevation that we need, nor did we have a device to help us get, you know, these extreme, you know, 30, 40, 50 mil elevations that we need to be able to shoot this far, you know, without aiming at a bird's nest up in the trees somewhere. So it's gonna be awesome.
A quick, I had to take a shotgun and take down some of the limbs over here. That's pretty hilarious earlier. So we're gonna get down to this. Chad is gonna be our shooter. I'm gonna spot. We're gonna see what happens, and we're gonna go down and inspect each time, mark our shots, and of course move out to distance until we can no longer penetrate the board. A couple of also quick notes on equipment as well. The rear bag he's using is a Cole-Tac cuddle bag.
Well, it's not. This isn't the cuddle bag. This is the one you can sleep with. This is just a Cole-Tac rear bag.
Rear bag. Okay, just the regular rear bag.
Boss bag.
The cuddle bag is the larger one.
They call it the boss bag.
And the table we're using here, this is a new table from Caldwell. It's a portable shooting rest from Caldwell.
Stable table.
Yeah, stable table. They saw that our shooting rests had gotten like fallen apart and had duct tape all over it, and Caldwell sent us some fresh rests and a few tables. So
well, and the cows destroyed our other table.
Yeah, they rubbed up against it and destroyed the other table. So big thanks to them for helping us out, keeping us good to go here. So let's do this.
All right, let's get shooting.
I mean, let's just let the results speak for themselves at this point.
All right, moment of truth. Let's see if we can shoot 500 yards with the Vudoo here.
Come on, Gilligan, let's go.
Hey man, I got to keep this Georgia heat off me.
Now, while Chad is setting up the shot, I just want to make a quick note about this Mark IV spotter that I'm running here. The cool thing about the Mark IV spotter, it has a tactical milling reticle in it. So that allows you to make instant calls, right? So we know how many mils the shot will be off. So that's what makes the Mark IV spotter such an interesting spotting scope. It doesn't have a grid in it like an H59. It's just got the same tactical milling reticle that you see in the Mark IV.
Okay. Are you ready?
Send it, man.
Okay.
This should be child's play.
Get a level here and sending. All right, so we've got our phone downrange, and we got another phone up here, both on speaker, so I could hear if it hit anything. It sounded like it hit the board.
I can't really tell, Chad. I've got this thing on 40 power, and
well,
this is a 500-yard shot.
I would probably drop it down a bit.
I wasn't listening for the phone, but you just give it a listen. But I did not. I thought I might have saw it maybe shoot a bit high, but
sorry guys, I loaded my magazine in a little bit of haste and didn't get those rims right in line like they're supposed to be.
Go ahead and try again.
Okay.
I'll shut my mouth so we can listen.
Yeah, that was definitely an impact.
Wait a minute. Was that just the speakerphone that you heard?
Yep.
Oh my
no. Oh, and crap. It hung up the phone because the iPhone's out here in the sun and it got too hot.
Oh, you
crap.
must have shot my phone.
No, I didn't shoot your phone. John's phone says temperature. If that's any indication of how hot it is out here.
Let's give it a couple of more hits there since we know we're on it. Let's listen, and we'll go down here and inspect our. Well, we know it went through because it hit the steel.
Oh yeah, it hit the steel. All right, a couple more shots. Okay.
Send it.
It hit.
Sound like it hit it.
Yeah. All right.
One more.
One more. I didn't hear anything, but
I think the wind picked up.
not much, not enough. Because at this range, even if the wind was blowing like a couple of miles an hour, which it has been, my hold is only about 1.5 miles, which is crazy. I mean, 1.5 miles with a 2 mile an hour wind, but it's a 22, guys. I mean, come on.
Right.
Let's go check it out.
Okay, let's see. All right, so Chad was able to get a shot here on the board. You can see this is a very large piece of plywood that we put together here. We got an impact right here. Okay, I'm just gonna mark that for 500. And that's our Ely 10X. Okay, that's 40 grain ammunition. So a standard velocity 40 grain bullet. We're gonna look at the back, and we've got a nice impact with a good exit here. Okay, you can see the exit. I want to mention something about this big gnarly piece of steel as well. Okay, our friends at shootsteel.com custom made this plate for us just so we could do these types of videos when we need to be able to hear kind of an odd, strange impact, or for spalling protection. So this is a humongous piece of AR-500 steel. You can see it's 4x4. I mean, it's a huge piece with these really big legs on it. So big thanks to our friends at Shoot Steel for making us this piece of steel. Really good people. All right, so according to the old U.S. Army standard, we do have a potentially lethal wound at 500 yards with a 22. What do you think, Chad?
Well, I think that once we turned the cameras on, the wind threw me off a bit. It's crazy though, like the wind, I told you, the wind affects these 22 rounds like it's nothing. I mean, it's like a 1.5 mil hold for a couple of mile an hour wind, and if it shifts a little bit, I mean, it can cause me to miss the target if I'm holding, and then the wind dies down range. So it's just nuts, but now I know, and now we can compensate and hopefully get on at 6 and then almost 700.
We're gonna go for 6, y'all. Let's do it.
All right, guys, we moved back to the tower, and we've got our target set up at 609 yards, and I've dropped the Macro Charlie on, and this gives us an extra 40 mils of elevation without touching the optic. I dialed the element back down to 0, and I've got 39.3 mils roughly in this environmentals right now to get out to 609. So I'm just gonna hold a little bit low, and we're gonna go for it and see if we can hold for wind correctly this time. Just a slight wind down there, but Eric's gonna spot for me, and we've got the telephone down there again on speaker, so hopefully we'll be able to hear it hit that board. All right, so.
Looking good.
All right, we ready?
Send it.
Okay, I'm gonna send one. Get a level here. All right, we're good.
Impact.
Okay.
Low right.
Low right.
Yeah, you're down in the, it looks like the lower right-hand corner. Good
Okay.
shot.
All right.
Send another one.
I'm gonna adjust my aim just a little bit here.
Impact.
Kind of sounded like it hit just a berm, didn't it?
It's very hard to see. Those are very tiny holes. Why don't you just shoot one more and we'll have a look.
Okay.
It's nice when we have a rig that can do the job. The big question is whether or not that what we're hearing over the speakerphone, is it hitting the wood or is it hitting the dirt? But it sounds like a clack. Shoot one more just for the heck of it.
All right, look, I'm gonna change my point of aim a little bit and hold a little bit more for wind.
I think you're
just
on.
moving just a little bit more down there than it is up here. All right, you ready?
Send it.
Okay.
Well,
all right, look.
It must have went through the center of the board,
All right,
Chad.
hold what we got. That was
You're on the
definitely
board.
All right, one more time.
One more. Send it.
All right.
You're on the board.
Yeah, that's the board. All right, we're gonna go down and take a look.
Good shooting.
Yeah.
Okay. Chad was able to log some hits at 608 yards with the Vudoo 360, topped off with our Element scope there, shooting our Ely ammunition, looking really nice there. We've got an impact here, 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 and here. Okay. This one, oddly enough, being up near the top, John used a couple of paint stirrer sticks to attach these boards together, and it went through the 2 paint stirrer sticks as well, for what that's worth, up near the top. So that's interesting. And we heard one round get through and hit the steel behind it, because this is leaning up against our shoot steel hanging target rack. We've got a 22-inch shoot steel round behind there. So when he got near the black, it went through and impacted the steel. We actually found the projectile that smushed out when it hit the steel. I've got it sitting right up there. Let's look at the rear here of the plate, or the board, I should say. And let's inspect, I'm sorry, the exit holes, all right? The one at 500, you know, it did a pretty good bit of damage coming out the back end at 5. We compare it to the shots at 6, didn't quite come through with the same level of tenacity that it did over here, but nonetheless, it did penetrate. And according to that standard, that is capable of causing a lethal wound.
All right, 677. So as far as we can shoot out here with the target backed all the way up against the wood line back there. So I've got 40 mils in here. I've dialed up to 46.3 right now in the current weather conditions.
All right. Just a tiny bit of wind. We're gonna level up and we're gonna send a few in and see if we can hear the impacts over the phone there. All right, let's see.
Send it whenever you're ready.
All right, sending.
Good shot, Chad.
Uh-oh. Did I run over that round? Ah, this is what happens when you load these magazines in a haste. Oh no, denied. All right. Whew.
Can't really see the impact, but
Okay.
we can hear them. I can see the bullet trace in. It's kind of crazy watching it arc in.
That is one long time of flight.
Probably, what, 5 seconds?
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. All right, one more shot. I think you guys get the point.
I think we're in there, guys. Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh, that is so satisfying.
It's so nice when you have the correct tools to do the job.
Yes.
All right. Well, we've been messing with this concept for quite a while. This is several years in the making, and
Yes.
I know, you know, it's always piqued Chad and I's interest as to how far a 22 can potentially hurt somebody, and it's always a measure of safety, right? We want to know how far these things can be deadly, because it's always important to know what's behind your target, right? That's why there are rules of safety, our basic gun fundamentals in terms of safety. That's why it's so important to know what's beyond your target. Even a 22, something that is seemingly a little anemic cartridge, it, you know, looks so innocent and small, they can certainly go the distance and cause, you know, potentially lethal wounds even at distance.
What's the distance on the box of 22 ammo on the warning? It says like 2 miles or 2.5 miles, and you think, man, that's crazy. But something I was mentioning to Eric earlier, and something some of you may not have considered, is when you look at subsonic projectiles, okay, in various cartridges, as long as the bullet has a relatively high BC for the caliber, okay, or the cartridge itself, like a 22 or like a 300 Blackout, it carries a lot of energy downrange, and it loses velocity relatively slowly compared to a supersonic round, which is really fighting all that drag in the atmosphere, because the more energy that it puts out, the more energy that's against it, okay, that slows it down. When that subsonic projectile is just gingerly cruising through the air, the effects of the atmosphere on it are more minimized just because of the speed it's running at. So I wasn't sure if it would penetrate this board at almost 700 yards, but all the impacts look very similar. I mean, it doesn't look like it was going to slow down and stop anytime.
The size of the hole on the entry looks about the same on all of them. The exit holes look very, very similar, okay? It seems that, like, when you look at, for instance, 300 Blackout and you're running heavies versus like the fast supers, so the projectile may not have as much, let's just say energy as soon as it leaves the muzzle as the the faster moving, lighter projectile might have, more energy, but it carries that energy for longer range. It doesn't lose energy as quickly as it travels through the air due to its heavy weight. And that's why buffalo hunters back in the day used to use like your 45 110s and 45 70s and some of the large anemic black powder cartridges to shoot long range. And you would think, well, okay, this is a weaker cartridge. It may not have the velocities of modern projectiles or modern cartridges, let's say, but somehow these buffalo hunters were still able to perform some very long range shots on these animals and perform humane kills out to considerable ranges. And the answer is why? Well, because they use heavy projectiles. So if a projectile is very heavy, it doesn't have to be moving fast. It just needs to have that mass and that energy going down range, and it maintains that for a long time. So then it just becomes a matter of figuring out your trajectory and figuring out how to get the projectile to go from point A to point B. With the 22, that seems to be very much the idea that 40 grains seems to be kind of the Goldilocks zone for a 22. It is a good nominal bullet weight in terms of getting good energies and good speeds, but then also maintaining that energy out to range potentially.
Well, we could see it maintaining the energy because we have 5 impacts, and I was holding about a mil to the left for windage, right? Because Mirage was just kind of cruising along this way. So I still needed like another 0.7 mils, which is insane, okay? But I'm curious to see the B-roll footage from the downrange camera here, because I noticed when we first did the video on the Vudoo, as the temperature was increasing in the morning, my elevation kept dwindling down because of the environmental conditions. So with 22 being so anemic as far as a long-range cartridge, every little variation in the atmospherics and the environmentals will certainly change that point of impact downrange, and it'll change your dope and data. So I'm curious to see if I just kind of was walking up because I was holding the exact same place. And also, this could just be your standard deviation as well in your extreme spread, just slightly higher velocity. When you get out to these ranges with a 22, if you're off by just a few yards, you can completely miss the target. Even if you're shooting the best ammunition on the market with like an SD of 1, you're still gonna miss the target if you're off with your ranging and everything.
That says a lot, Chad, because arguably, I mean, this Vudoo is probably like one of the best rifles of its type on the planet. So we're not running, just off-the-shelf equipment. This is a very specialized setup. I mean, the Element optics definitely doing a great job. Good, clear optics. Everything tracks well. All of the adjustments are very tactile and exacting. And these optics are, definitely made by people that have a passion for long-range shooting and people that are very exacting in what an air rifle is supposed to do. And that really translates great to a 22 and even center fires as well. I mean, these optics obviously do quite well on a variety of other center fires as well. But this is one heck of a rig, man.
So, I mean, the next step, I guess, is to push it even further. Now, the Charlie here, okay, this thing will adjust up to, like I said, 250 mils, okay, without having to touch your optic, which is just incredulous. I mean, but when, in doing a little bit of research, like just to get past 1,000 yards, we're talking like almost 100 mils, I think, of elevation that's required on this rig with the current 10X ammo to get out that far. So to get out a little bit further, we'll have to adjust the Charlie, which is actually an easy task. It's just, putting a ruler up down range and adjusting it, doing a little bit of math, for Well, I may have to Google it because, you know, it's been a while since I went to school, so I may not be able to math as good as I used to. But
and you know, us rednecks don't know anything about math.
But we can certainly set this thing up, and we can push it out and shoot 8,000, 9,000, maybe a little bit further. I've heard of guys shooting these Voodoos with the Charlies out to about 1,200 or so yards, which is just nuts. But it is so much fun to squeeze off that round and hear it whiz down range, and then 5 seconds later, hear an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very satisfying.
Pretty
it's just
phenomenal.
Nuts.
Pretty phenomenal.
All right.
Guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. I know it took us quite a while to get back to doing part 2 of this video, but I hope you understand. I really appreciate your patience, and I appreciate everyone who has supported our channel throughout the years, and we hope that we're going to do many more of these videos. We are going to revisit some other cartridges as well. We're going to do 9mm 45 again, try to punch out to some crazy ranges. We'll also shoot some other calibers that maybe you wouldn't exactly associate with this type of distance too. Maybe 5.7 by 28. Possibly in the future we might see some of the 4.6s like the MP7 cartridge.
Maybe.
Stay tuned. We will shoot some intermediate cartridges and some other random things as well. And who knows, maybe we'll do some super crazy extreme long range tests with some standard centerfire stuff as well, 6.5 Creedmoor, maybe 308. So we'll go down the rabbit hole. Guys.
Hey, does anybody have a barn they'd like to donate? Right? I mean, because if it can hit the right side of a barn, hey, we may be in business.
That's right. We may have to paint the side of a barn and shoot it, but anyway. Guys, have a great one. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can go over to Ballistic Ink, pick yourself up a snazzy t-shirt. That's one way you can support us. Also, a big thank you to all of our regular Patreon supporters. I really appreciate you being a part of our channel, and the funds that you send us through Patreon definitely go towards projects like this and helping us put these together. So you're helping educate the masses about safety and, you know, obviously our rights and the importance of being advocates for the Second Amendment. So we go into many different levels on that, and I appreciate our Patreon supporters being a part of that. Have a good one. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.